Hello, happy, what is today? Monday, to think. Hope you had a great weekend and you did something that you loved. Um, yeah, we are coming up. There's so many things that are highlighted in the 100-year celebration right now to me. I might have shared that last week. I don't remember if it was on here or if it was with a friend. Um, but nonetheless, it was also Winnie the Pooh's birthday. And Bob and I just loved Winnie the Pooh, the cartoon itself. And yeah, and so anyway, I thought I would start us off today. Um, this is by A. A. Milne, not it's not Winnie the Pooh, but it's called The King's Breakfast. The king asked the queen, and the queen asked the dairymaid, "Could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread?" The queen asked the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, "Certainly. And I'll go and tell the cow now before she goes to bed." The dairymaid, she curtsied and went and told the Alderney. "Don't forget the butter for the royal slice of bread," the Alderney said sleepily. "You'd better tell His Majesty that many people nowadays like marmalade instead." The dairymaid said, "Fancy." And she went to Her Majesty. She curtsied to the Queen, and she turned a little red. "Excuse me, Your Majesty, for taking of the liberty, but the marmalade is tasty if it's very thickly spread." The Queen said, "Oh," and went to His Majesty, talking of the butter for the royal slice of bread. "Many people think that marmalade is nicer. Would you like to try a little marmalade instead?" The king said, "Bother." And then he said, "Oh, dearie me." The king sobbed, "Oh, dearie me," and went back to bed. "Nobody," he whimpered, "could call me a fussy man. I only want a little bit of butter for my bread." The queen said, "There, there," and went to the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, "There, there," and went to the shed. The cow said, "There, there. I didn't really mean it. Here's milk for his porringer and butter for his bread." The queen took the butter and brought it to His Majesty. The king said, "Butter, eh?" and bounced out of bed. "Nobody," he said, as he kissed her tenderly. "Nobody," he said, as he slid down the banisters. "Nobody, my darling, could call me a fussy man, but I do like a little bit of butter to my bread." Um, so this came from, this was a college textbook of mine. I was a education major for undergrad and grad. I was an elementary education major in my undergrad. And this is the Riverside Anthology of Children's Literature. It was my favorite book from all of college. And I can tell you how old this was. See, it's $43.55 is the stamp marked of the cost of this book. And I just love it. I loved it then. I love it now. And I loved the class. Children's Lit was just probably one of my all-time favorite classes that I took for my undergrad degree. And I love children's literature and read so much to my own kids. But the professor that we had, that I had then at Anderson University, was Dr. Rita Forrest. And she was just a, I don't know, just a wise woman, a very wise professor. And, excuse me, I love how, one of the things I loved about her, we knew at the end of the semester of your like senior year, I think before you did student teaching, she would have the class over to her house for dinner. And it was just really special to get to go to a professor's house and eat with her and be pampered and loved on by her. And Dr. Forrest was just really a gem. Coincidentally, or not, I don't know, when I was in grad school, I had a professor, I think her name was Dr. Hunt. And do you know why we loved her? She was a real soul. She was a genuine. She got it that we were working professionals already and taking these classes. Many already had families at that point, young marrieds, and she was just a real person. And she too invited us to her house for lunch or dinner, a meal, the whole class at the end of the semester, at the end of her class. So I think there's something to be said about that. And there's something to be said about friendship, the gift of hospitality, and inviting people around your table to break bread, just like Jesus did. And so anyway, 100 years is a long time. 4 to 5 generations, depending upon how they're counted. Sometimes it's 20 years, sometimes 25 years, sometimes a little more. But in general, a whole generation is about 20 to 25 years. So, 100 years. My grandma would have been 100 years old this year. The church where my Bob and I grew up at, got married at, is celebrating 100 years of existence. And A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh, 100 years celebration. A great chocolate place in the Ohio area that we all like is Esther Price, 100-year celebration. It just seems like there was so many significant celebrations going on this year. So anyway, I wanted to speak a little bit about that today and about friendship. So one of our pastors used to say, Pastor Robold, used to always say, the definition of intimacy is to know, to be known, and to be caringly involved. So a friendship goes both ways, right? You have to invest a little bit of yourself, and other people also invest themselves in you. It's an exchange. It's like both parties. If you're the only one being the friend and the other person isn't really being a friend, it's not going to be that strong of a friendship. What is a good friend? A good friend knows your birthday. A good friend knows, I don't know, if you've got friends that go back a long time, like I do, man, we have a lot of history together. Good, bad, and ugly, right? I think for the most part, we've forgotten the ugly, and that's a good thing. It's not like you want to dwell on ugliness, but there were some significant things in school that marked me, and I know people probably remember those things. And anyway, and I heard a sermon yesterday, and it was talking, the gist was on friendship between Jonathan and David, and how Saul kept trying to kill David, and Jonathan and David were best buds. And Jonathan even tried to tell him, David, Saul's going to kill you. You've got to go hide. You got to get out. There's certain friendships in life that are just from God. And then likewise, in the sermon yesterday, how heartbreaking it is when a friendship is broken. Sometimes those are necessary things. when betrayal has occurred, and it sometimes reconciliation is not an option. You always want to forgive, right? That's your lifeline between you and the Lord. That releases you, that releases them to the Lord. But reconciliation is not always, that's not a requirement of Scripture. And depending upon the type of relationship, I think, kind of gives way to how much effort you're going to put back into a reconciliation. So, and then today I heard another talk by Joel Muddamalle. Little reel was about relationship and betrayal, and how we put our trust in God. That doesn't mean we're not going to get hurt by people, but people do and will let us down. We are human. I know I have let people down. Sometimes unknowingly. I didn't know for years. One of my girls had a birthday party one year, and it wasn't until years later that the mom made mention that they were really hurt that her girls were not invited to the party. And I felt bad then, like, oh, I didn't, that wasn't intentional. We just kept it so small because we were in the middle of moving that year, and it was very hectic, and we just did a very small gathering. Maybe 2 or 3 friends were invited, and then we went, had pizza and went to a concert. Took the girls to Francesca Bastelli. So, at any rate, the point is, I felt bad once the person told me that their feelings were hurt. It didn't cross my mind back at that time to invite them, because my daughter had never been invited to their birthdays. It wasn't a malicious intent. It just was not even on the radar, so to speak. And then certainly there have been times I've been hurt because I've caught wind of something that I, went on that I wasn't invited to, and it is hurtful. Not that you have to be invited to everything, right? You really don't. And when you can release that, then you can be okay with it and not have your feelings hurt as badly when you find out you were one that wasn't included. So, having looked at things from both sides, it gives us better perspective over situations like that. But anyway, I think, and wrapping this up, how it affects widowhood, Bob and I were best friends. And so that, yes, I lost my husband and my very best friend. So like with a best friend, you're definitely known and we're caringly involved. So we had about 5 billion inside jokes between us. And it's just not the same when that person's gone. And some things, I explain and I'll tell a funny story or something, but it is definitely not the same when your best friend's gone. Have you found that to be true? And that's part of another layer of the grief, I think. And probably one of the many reasons why the loss of a spouse is the number one stressor of the whole, anything you could endure in relationship. So anyway, keep walking, put your shoes on, go for a walk, get with a buddy, talk it out. Walk and talk it out, but keep walking. That's my gift for you today.